Gabrielle Endress has you here again with another Google Analytics tutorial. This week I am going to go through the Visitors Flow Report, which is found under Audience. So just at the very bottom on the left navigation you can find the Visitors Flow Report. And by default, it always defaults by showing you the flow of your visitors throughout your site by country, which is generally it can be an interesting thing, especially if you wanted to, if you have a kind of an international presence and you wanted to kind of see if you had a marketing campaign in Europe or overseas in Asia or whatnot, and you wanted to kind of see how that impact was and how people flowed, and perhaps maybe an increase in your flow traffic from that particular region. Having that information is very useful. However, you may or may not be interested in that all the time, and up here you actually have a choice of choosing other metrics to take a look at. So visitors, what browser they're coming from, what city they're coming from, etc. Custom variables you might have set up, acquisition, the source, etc., where they're coming from might be interesting to look at, or perhaps social media. For today's tutorial, I'm going to go ahead and just look at social media just to kind of mix things up a little bit. Alright, so as you can see, since the beginning of the year, I'm just looking at current data for 2014 from my website, and the majority of people coming to my website did not come through social media. Which is fine, but this kind of can give me an idea of how people are flowing from various social media sites that I'm currently actively using. Twitter, I'm not surprised, is my top one because that's the social media medium that I use the most. And one of the nice things is if I use the left mouse button, I can click on this and I can highlight traffic through here. I can view only this segment, or I can do group details. We'll take a look at highlight traffic through here. So here you go, and it now grayed out the various traffic from other sources, and is focused on Twitter. So all of these lines throughout here are all ones that came from Twitter to begin with, and where they kind of went. And you can see here that a whole lot of them went through to this particular article, which is my Adobe tutorial on tracking manifests. And then another whole lot of them kind of went to, like, this is a group of 51 other pages that are not part of the top pages. So it's just showing me 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3. It's like showing the top 5 pages, and then it kind of groups everything down here below. And then you can see, like, if you're looking at, like, this is the most popular destination to my website from Twitter. And you can then see that one thing goes from there to the About page. Another one goes from there over here to more pages, but a lot of them just drop off. But that's not surprising considering they came to read an article, and once they read the article they left. They obviously didn't have any interest in anything else that my site had to offer at the time. They were just interested in that particular blog post that I had. And then we can take a look at, like, let's view only this segment. And so what this does is it actually takes out all the other grayed out things, and we just focus on Twitter and Twitter alone. And so you can have a little bit better view of what people were doing. And so let's say once they went to the manifest, we can then highlight traffic through that. And this also gives us a little bit, clearer view of where people are going. For those who didn't drop off, going back to the home page, looking at my home page, and then going back to my blog page before leaving, or going to, let's say, looking at the category of omniture, and probably interested in possibly other omniture related articles, and then going to the category Adobe Analytics, and also going to my About page. Now, one interesting thing that you can do is, you notice here you have a plus step, so you can actually add another step. It always shows you the first, second, and third interactions in the flow, but if you click on step, it shows you the 4th, 5th, 6th, etc. types of flows. And so you can see here that it had some of this one Twitter person. So it says we're down to just one person, but they went from here to the About page over to this services implementation page, back to my About page, back to my home page. Let's see, where did they drop off? Okay, they ended up at yet another article, Time for a Change, and then they finally left. So you can kind of see, you can actually, keep going and just kind of dive even further and further into these interactions, if you want to. And then if you decide that you're like, I don't want to see all these interactions, you can actually click these little X's here, and you can close them down. And I'm just going to go back to the just top 3 interactions. And so that's basically how you kind of interact with this tool. And it's really handy to see like where are people dropping off from, and then kind of think, go back to your site and like, okay, so this is where they're dropping off. Why are they dropping off? That kind of thing, especially if you have an e-commerce site and you have perhaps a shopping cart, and you can use this visitor flow to kind of look at all the steps that they're going through the through your shopping cart. You can do it through your goals, or you can do it through this flow as well, especially if you don't set the goal up right. You may or may not be missing some areas where people might be dropping off that you're not aware of. And so kind of using the visitor flow as a comparative to just kind of make sure that your goal flow is working the way you want it to. It's also a good kind of double check for that as well, in my opinion. So that's basically how the visitor flow works, how you interact with it, how things work, exploring traffic through various things. And like this particular one, it's like, well, everything kind of dropped off after that. So that isn't very interesting, is it? So we can just always hit the back button and kind of go back through different things as well. But yeah, I think it's ultimately a very useful tool to kind of see where people are dropping off from, and then kind of examining, okay, well, if they're dropping off from here, and I really want Twitter people to continue on and read other articles, like what else can I do to entice Twitter folks to read more of my articles? And so that's obviously something that I would want to examine and look at, and then see what tweaks I could make to my website. And then after letting those tweaks run for a week or so, kind of come back and look at the data and see, well, did it work? Did it not work? And then just kind of keep going through that cycle of like what's working, what's not working, and how do I fix that? So anyway, if you have any questions about how visitor flows work beyond what I've just explained, or have any other tutorials you would like to see me do, I would be more than happy to accommodate that. Also, please like and share these videos. I would appreciate that very much, and subscribe if you haven't yet. And until next week, please take care. Bye-bye.